So a month or so ago when I started putting together my website, I was trying to put together an about me in 10 seconds. So I thought, like, what does somebody need to know about me? And the three biggest things I thought of is I read, I walk, and I tell people about stuff. So sales and marketing. Because 90% of my time throughout the day is doing one of those things. I see a lot of love for learning a skill like sales and marketing. Or reading more, because reading's important. I mean, it still needs more love out there, and people still need to learn skills, and it's still something that was a huge huge unlock in my life, is just understanding how much importance there is on developing skills to provide value for the world. But how little love I see for walking drives me nuts. People see it as something that's optional. Oh, I'll do it if I have time, or oh, I just don't have time today. Like, if you think of a workaholic, they're not really walking that much. And if you look at the average person throughout the country, they're getting only a couple thousand steps in a day. And if you're getting that 5, 10, my goal is to at least get 10,000 steps in a day, because I just know how much better I perform. So I started thinking about all the different benefits, all the different things on walking. And so these are some of the things I think about. And first off, it's thinking. Walking is a part of thinking. It's part of my creative process, and I look at it like a flywheel. In order to make great work, part of that equation is walking. Like, it helps just massage out ideas. I know when I'm walking, moving my body that way, it's like the perfect movement where I notice if I'm working out, like, I can still think and I still have ahas there, but most of my ideas come while I'm walking. And it's crazy. I'll hit roadblocks in a marketing project I'm working on, and it's like, how does this wording fit together, or whatever the project is? And I go for a walk, and it's like, oh, it's this, and then it's this, and then it's this. And I like to think that I come up with these ideas without walking, but I've seen how many ideas I come up when I walk versus the periods of life when I stop walking and I'm more sedentary, and it is not even comparable. And so that is the biggest part for me. That is what keeps me walking every single day, is I need to think, I need to move projects forward, and part of that process for me is walking. Part of it as well is it lowers your overall stress. Especially when you're outside walking. I pretty much do all my walking outside. It's very rare that I walk on a treadmill. But not only are you getting sunlight and being outside, fresh air, you're also lowering your stress levels, which is gonna help you think better as well. So all these things end up working together. It's all different big parts of the puzzle, but lowers your stress levels. You're gonna be sleeping better that night. It helps control your weight. I notice when I'm walking more, even if I'm not walking a ton or just doing a bunch of like super long walks or something like that, it's so much easier to control my weight and my appetite, and my body just overall just feels like it's functioning better. And part of that has to do with like your lymphatic system. The system that's like right below your skin, and it's responsible for getting waste out of your body. And by moving throughout the day and moving that lymphatic system, it helps in that detoxification process. And so that's a whole part of how I use walking, is like after a meal, go for a walk. Studies have shown that just moving after that, even if it's just 5, 10, 15 minutes, it's enough to help that digestion start to work, help your body handle blood sugar better, so that way you're not having as high of a spike, especially after a big meal. And I'm one that tends to eat some pretty big meals. I don't like to eat all throughout the day, so I'll have just bigger meals. And so just by going for a walk after, it just helps your body in that way. And then it goes right back to weight management, like we were talking about, which has to do with your stress and sleep. So it's all one big system. But then also going into another aspect of the productivity of it is every 50 minutes, just being able to move your body a little bit helps you get much deeper sessions of work. So instead of trying to work for 2 or 3 hours at a time, every about 45 to 60 minutes, I get up, just move around a little bit, get in a couple steps. If I'm at home or in the office or something like that, maybe do some push-ups or squats. Usually it's just getting up and walking around, getting some water, getting something I need, so that way I'm just moving around a little bit, and then you can go back to your desk and get into that next deep session of work. But instead of trying to drag on a session 2 or 3 hours at a time and just feeling drained at the end of it, it just helps you re-up that energy a little bit, and then you're not ever fully draining yourself out. Because once you hit that point of failure, it's like working out. And if you're going in there and you're bench pressing and you get to that point of complete failure, now you go back for that next set, and if you don't give yourself enough time to rest, all of a sudden the strength goes down a ton. Well, if you're never actually hitting failure, you're stopping right before, it allows your work capacity to go a lot higher. And so throughout the day, by just taking short breaks, refueling with some movement, all of a sudden, like, your energy is always just staying high, and I just feel way better, way happier at the end of the day. Goes into the next part. It's just overall mood booster. I'm happier when I'm moving. I'm overall just happier. It probably has to do with the lower stress and the better physique and better sleep and getting some sunlight in. But you just feel overall happier, and it's one of those disciplines that goes a long way. And then another aspect of this is one thing that I tend to do that aids in thinking. And sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. We're just talking about all the different ideas I have on walking here. Is walking the same path every day. So a lot of times I'll just walk the same path every single day. And even when I move or work in somewhere else, and part of my routine is figuring out a path where I'm not thinking about where I'm going, it's just almost letting my body completely go. And then that's really where I get my thinking at my best. As my body's on autopilot, we're just walking, and it just allows my ideas to wander. Or if I'm listening to something, I can just focus on that. Talking to somebody, I can just be present in that conversation. But it just allows my body to go on autopilot. And then it's also a good check of when I'm letting my discipline slip. Is I'll notice, I'll just try and cut the walk a little bit here, cut at a corner here. I try and make it just a little bit easier, and it's a quick check of like, oh, my discipline overall, like, I need to be careful, because a lot of times, like, that is like one of the first warning signs. It's like a check engine light coming on way before there's ever a problem. But it's one thing that's like, okay, why am I stressed out enough right now where I'm just trying to cut a corner? What's going on here? And going along with this too is it gets boring, and that's a good thing. Back in 2023, I started trying to intentionally let myself be bored, and it goes right along the idea with generating more ideas. But it's just crazy. I would find myself before that just filling in so much time scrolling on TikTok or scrolling on Instagram or scrolling somewhere on the internet, and it's always having some sort of input coming into me. Let's just stop. Let's have nothing. We don't need to always be listening to something, always trying to learn. And it comes a lot of times with good intentions, and maybe not necessarily the scrolling, but a lot of times throughout the day it's good intentions trying to learn. But I still need to be bored every once in a while. It helps develop patience, helps make you makes the world slow down a little bit. Not something I'm the best at still, but again, just part of the intentional practice of walking every day and just building in that space right there. And then getting into some ways I like to make sure I'm walking enough is, one, there's a designated time every single day where I walk. Depending on the day, it's generally a 45-minute walk. Sometimes it adjusts to 30 minutes to 60 minutes. There's usually some sort of intention set beforehand, so I'm not just randomly strolling. I don't do a whole lot of long walks right now. Before, I've done walks where it's like 2-3 hours just designated. I haven't been doing too much of those. It's been more of a designated walk every day, and then also quick walks throughout the day. So like little exercise snacks. I saw that going around a couple weeks ago, and that's a great way of putting it, is mixing in these little exercise snacks throughout the day, whether that's walking or some push-ups, some squats. Just get the body moving. Another way I do this is just parking farther away. It's just a habit now that I park towards the back, and it's funny how it ends up saving you time rather than trying to park close. Because what ends up happening, I spend no time looking for a parking spot. I get some steps in. I'm not one of those people that's circling around waiting for the first one, or waiting up front for 2 or 3 minutes. It's just like, you gotta walk that distance, that time. Come on, like, just get some more steps. But all those little times you end up doing that, it ends up adding up to a couple extra 100 steps a day. Also, taking the stairs. Take the stairs as much as possible. Again, those are like per steps going up. And then also making things a little bit more inconvenient. So I could just get enough. So I could just always fill up my water tank, always make sure I'm topped off. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure I'm getting up more. So sometimes I make sure that's the case. Or I could grab everything all at once, but sometimes I just leave things behind. That way I can have an excuse to get up later and also not touch my phone. So it's all these little ways I'll just make my life almost a little bit more inconvenient, but that way I'm getting more steps in and forcing myself to. It's funny how like those little moments of inconvenience and you get up, you just move real quick and it's like, oh, didn't think of doing it that way, and all these ideas will come through that. And that's what walking is, I'd say, the most for me, is like that idea generation. Said it before, but having that time every single day, good for your health, good for your wealth. You'll have more ideas. And one thing that is not optional. So, what are your thoughts on walking? How much do you walk each day? Do you have a minimum step count? Because I try and go for at least 10,000 a day as a bare minimum, but I'm curious to see where you guys at. Alright, talk to you soon.